Hong Kong is bracing for more protests this weekend as demonstrators remain undeterred by stern warnings against unruly rallying.
And this evening, protesters are gathering at Cheetah Garden for a rally organized by several student unions. And our correspondent, Afifa Arifin, is there. She joins us from Cheetah Garden right now. Afifa, has the rally already started?
That's right, the rally here just started. Hundreds of people are gathered around me here in Cheetah Garden for the Stand Up for Hong Kong, Power to the People rally here. This rally is, as you said, jointly organized by student unions from the higher institutions in Hong Kong. This assembly consists basically of a series of guests and videos from the UK, the US and in Hong Kong. And the objective of this rally here this evening is really to declare a Chinese breach of the Sino-British Joint Declaration. This is a binding international treaty signed in 1997, which basically states that China's basic policies regarding Hong Kong will remain unchanged for 50 years until 2047, including the promise that Hong Kong will retain a high degree of autonomy. They're also here to rally for the US and the UK to legislate sanctions upon people they feel are responsible for the suppression of rights and freedom here in Hong Kong. And one noticeable thing among the crowd here is that many of them are not in the usual protester gear. They have actually not worn a face mask. I think many of them are from work. Work just ended a couple of hours ago, and this is a commercial district. So it seems that it's very peaceful. A lot of discussion is set to take place. We're seeing more guests who will come up on the stage behind me, and that is really what the people here tell me this rally is for, to bring out discussions about the ongoing protests here in Hong Kong.
Yeah, Afifa, certainly does look like a calmer scene from what we're used to seeing. There's been lots of speculation over the past week as to whether Beijing is going to send troops into Singapore.
Into Hong Kong.
Into Hong Kong, rather, apologies. Are Hong Kong police still able to cope with demonstrations, especially after the escalation of violence this week?
That's right, the police force has come out to say that they are able to sort of control the situation here in Hong Kong, although they did admit that many members of the force are growing emotionally and physically tired after months of confrontation, after 10 weeks of escalating violence as well. The officers here in the city said that they have about 30,000 uniformed officials, and the situation is really well under control. One of the senior officials speaking to foreign media said that the force is not at full mobilization just yet, and they still have a depth of resources to deal with the ongoing unrest, even if violence escalates even further as the weeks continue. All of this is perhaps to quell the growing speculations that troops will be sent in from the mainland because the Hong Kong police are not able to handle the situation here. Let's listen to what one police officer had to say this afternoon.
We all face tremendous pressure, long working hours, others working conditions, facing violent protests. Sometimes you just can't tell whether they're peaceful or violent. But I can tell you, we are confident that we have the capability to maintain law and order in Hong Kong. In general, from my personal contact with my frontline troops, they are motivated. We still maintain very high morale, and we love our place, and we want to contribute.
Well, Afifa, we know lots of protests are being planned as we head into this is now the 11th weekend of demonstrations. But we also understand not all of them are going to be legal.
That's right. We know that there are two known protests that are applied for police permit that's set to happen this weekend. The protest that's happening, that's supposed to happen tomorrow, has not received the green light. The rally on Sunday has, though, although only the rally portion of that event has been approved. The march around the area of Victoria Park, now that hasn't received any green light from the police. The police have defended the objections to these rallies and marches that organizers wanted to have in Kowloon and Hong Kong, citing fears of escalating violence that they have been seeing during the protests that have taken place in the last 10 weeks. They fear mainly that there is a small group of radical protesters who would hijack what would be considered a peaceful event, and that would put the lives of peaceful protesters, shop owners and residents in whichever district that event is being held in danger. But, you know, as we've seen that whether or not the police gives the permit to protesters, that hasn't really quite stopped them from taking to the streets. Take last weekend, for example, in Sham Shui Po, that event did not receive any permit or approval from the police, but yet thousands still came together and marched onto the streets. Of course, that, you know, escalated into violence after that march was over, and there was a standoff between rowdy protesters and the police, which lasted for a couple of hours. Now, those gatherings, if are not approved by the police, are illegal as they are considered unlawful assemblies. Many organizers and protesters that I spoke with said that they're very unhappy over the police's decision. They feel that all they want to do is really just have an event where they can voice their concerns, and, you know, not giving their approval would actually even antagonize the more defiant and radical protesters to take to the streets.
All right, thanks for that, and we'll definitely be keeping our eye on it. Afifa Arifin speaking to us from Cheetah Garden in Hong Kong, where a rally is currently taking place right now.